Alright, first time ever in a Formula car. For those of you that are familiar with those, this is a Pro Formula Mazda, which is the evolution of this car is the Indy 2000, I believe, PM18. This is a slightly older car. This uses a rotary engine. It's about 250 horses and 1100 pounds, so way too much power for me, or just enough depending on your perspective, I guess. So this is not just my first time in a Formula car, this is also my first time on a track. Now I've been doing some sim racing for the last, I guess, 6 to 9 months or so. That's pretty much all my experience in sim racing also. But never on this track. This track isn't in any of the sims that I've tried. This car is though, however, in iRacing, so I've been playing around with it a lot there. Although it gives me some insight into how the car is going to behave and the controls, they're still different enough that I was struggling somewhat with getting used to the controls. As you'll see, the car is also seems to be not getting enough air, not getting enough fuel, so the fuel mixture wasn't getting that right either. So need to get some more experience with the car, I think, in every respect before I'll get any kind of speed. But then again, the intention here wasn't to break any speed records or get fast. The intention here was just to figure out the controls of the car, figure out the track, have a little fun while doing it, and staying safe. And with that in mind, this was a very successful day and a very fun day, a lot of fun. I didn't actually start out in this car on the track. The first few laps were actually in my daily driver. It was raining when we got there. Didn't really want to take out the Formula car immediately, so preferred to keep the heater and the wipers on, so took my daily driver out, which is a Charger RT. It's about 370 horsepower, very heavy car. It really struggled in the corners, lots of understeer, not really a car for the track. It's a great car for a daily driver. It's like all of that power really helps when you need to get into traffic quickly, but it is not a track car. Potentially more of a drift car if you want to do that, because it can break out that rear end for sure, but it's an automatic. Putting it into manual shift, it's still not a manual shift. It's very slow on the gear shifts. Doesn't always let you make the shift you want to. And yeah, just all around slow car, not a track car. And at the end of my session there, I got the check engine light just from braking too hard, so parked that. A friend of mine had a couple of MX-5 Mazdas or Miatas, which I got to try. One of them a street car and one of them race chopped, I guess, for lack of a better word, race chopped Miata. It's much lighter, more power, more fun, but it was hard for me to fit into it. As you may see, I'm quite tall. I'm a bit too tall for this car. I might have to modify the seat to get further into it. But that car was of course set up for the owner, which is considerably smaller than me, borderline midget sized if you're listening, and it was very cramped. It was still a whole lot of fun. The Street Mazda was actually more fun for me because even though it was a lot less power, heavier, I just fit better in there because I could move the seat back, and so it was a little bit more enjoyable experience. But neither of them, or any three of them, really compared to this experience. And as you can see, I'm not good at it. Not doing a whole lot of braking here, mostly just engine braking to slow down because I don't know the track, don't know the car, just figuring things out. But having so much fun while figuring it out. Burning question on everyone's mind is probably going to be, how does this compare to sim racing? And now that I've run this same car in sim racing quite a bit, I'll say that in many respects, it's very comparable. Of course, there's no G-forces in SimRacing. Even in my motion rig, if you've seen my videos, there's some emulation of G-forces, but it's different in that the motion rig will throw you to one side to emulate G-forces, but they're not sustained like in this. When you're going through a corner at speed, it keeps pulling you. So I got all kinds of sore muscles after that day, but that also gives me exercises, which is why I consider this car really the trainer for my sim. Anyway, I had so much fun there. Need to get a little bit better into the braking of the car, and also the fuel mixture. My height might actually be impacting that, because I think my head is blocking some of the air intake, which is supposed to be there above my head, and probably is. Might be the angle there. You see the camera at the top of the coming up above my head there. That's on top of the air intake for the car. But it was kind of like it was choking itself out in some places, and that's probably a combination of bad fuel-air mixture, and me blocking the air intake, and me just simply being in the wrong gear. Now, pretty much everyone that's familiar with these cars that I asked online before I got the car and before I went to the track said that this was a terrible car to start out in open wheel cars, much less if it's your first experience of racing altogether. And I can see why they say that. It's, as you can see now, it's spun out there, which actually is very similar to my experience in the sim, because this car has a very fine line between being on rails and going off the rails. That's kind of what's happened there. I spin out a lot in the sim. But anyway, so everyone says that this car is terrible for that, because it is much more powerful than like a Skippy, for instance, or maybe a Formula V or something like that. But at the same time, the power aside, I'm not sure it's such a bad car to start out, at least in trying out Formula cars. It does have some downforce, which helps with grip, which just makes it a little bit safer. But it also, shifting is simpler than in most of the starter cars, especially if you are not used to manual cars. If you're used to automatic cars, then this might actually be one of the better choices for you to start out with, because although it's not automatic, it does have a clutch. You need to use it, at least when you head off out on track. It does have some features which may be very, very helpful for a beginner that's not used to manual cars, and that is it has a no lift upshift. So when you're shifting up, you don't have to use the clutch at all, and you don't have to lift off the pedal, the gas pedal, which is pretty much exactly like most people ride in a simulator. So that transfers pretty well. I did find in reality though, found it helpful to lift off the gas a little bit when shifting up. I got a little bit more consistent shifts when I did that. On the flip side, downshifting in this car, also don't need a clutch for that. You can just shift it down. It won't let you shift down unless it's below tolerance of RPMs for the car. So you can actually hold the gear towards shifting down, and it'll only shift down when it's ready. It's below those RPMs. I found that I do that in the sim quite a lot, but I find it somewhat easier to hit in the sim to get those RPMs down, and that might be because I'm braking a lot harder in the sim. I'm driving much more aggressive in the sim, so braking much harder without clutching. That's going to bring the RPMs down. Is probably allowing me to shift easier down in the sim versus all the engine braking that you're seeing me doing here in the video. That means that the engine is still at a higher RPM and I can't downshift. To get past that, some of my laps here, I would just clutch to get the engine to slow down and shift. It's probably not a great idea either. Probably what you want to do is well, do more actual braking to slow it down. That will of course slow the RPM zone, but you may also want to shift to that if you're braking very hard because you don't want to stall the engine. That would be bad. But anyway, I had so much fun in this car. I did buy this car actually to turn it into a simulator, but now that I've had a chance to drive it, I want to drive it again. So it's not going to be turned into a simulator quite yet, maybe never, but at least for now I'm going to enjoy it for what it is. Really, really, really ridiculously fun track day.
Did you see me spin out? Huh? Did you see me spin out? Yeah, I saw you standing there, and I was not sure what happened. I didn't see the spin. Okay. Oh, that was yeah, it was amazing fun. I spun out over there in the big corner over there before the straightaway. Totally flipped it. On purpose? No, I found the line. Also, clearly going a little faster now. So there was a couple of times where I started slipping and I caught it. But that time it was just instant spin around. Yeah. Still, I mean, it was. I guess it just happened too quickly to really think about it. Yeah. Other than how am I going to turn the car around?
And you didn't kill it.
I didn't kill it. No. I pretty much clutched instantly as it started.
How much air do you guys have in the tires?
We didn't even check. Yeah, it's more than 3.